Hello, everyone, and welcome to this 30 Urban AI conversation. My name is Hubert. I'm the founder of Urban AI, and it's a great pleasure of welcoming you today for this Urban AI conversation dedicated to urban AI and cultural heritage insight from Postdam. For this Urban AI conversation, we have the great pleasure of welcoming Evgeny Kalachikhin, who is art director at CX Studio, and Lisa Nawrocki, who is focal point UNESCO Creative City of Film Postdam. Hi, Evgeny. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Great pleasure of having you today. Actually, I first discovered your project during an event at UNESCO, to which you were, Lisa, as a speaker. And I remember I was really super interested in this initiative. So it's really a great pleasure of continuing the conversation today with the both of you on this fascinating topic. Just before, a few words about Urban AI. Urban AI is a global organization dedicated to the emerging field of urban artificial intelligence. We federate a think tank with which we are doing research in the field of urban AI to make advance this emerging field. We also federate a community of 200 international experts, and we also have an academy to create capacity building programs for all kind of urban stakeholders. And as part of our missions, we regularly urban AI conversations during which international experts, researchers, public servants can present and discuss their latest initiatives, projects, or research. And for today, Urban AI Conversation, we will explore with Evgeny and Lisa during the first 20 minutes how urban AI and generative AI can be used for digital revival and enhance cultural heritage. I will not say more. You will see with Evgeny. This is really a super interesting project. And then we'll have a 25 minute open discussion with Evgeny and Lisa. Evgeny, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for presenting us for giving our the stage to present what we are doing in Film University Babelsberg Conrad Wolf. So I would suggest that I first start the presentation so we can understand immediately what's going on here. Oops. So I'm just trying to start. Should this work? Uh, Yeah, here we go. Um, so we're gonna. I would like to present today two of our projects, both of them addressing what we called a digital heritage paradox. That's actually the problem. That's a lot of the assets in the world and the European Union are digitized, and but they're not, so to say, active because to create kind of content using the digitized asset, I mean 3D assets or 2D or maybe text, uh, the price for this work is pretty high. And at the film university, actually, as creators, we always try to activate this asset. And now we are participating in a European Union project, which also, as a part of the project, address the problem of using this asset. And of course, if we calculate the normal production, post-production costs for any filmic project using the assets, the prices, they are, so to say, not democratic, right? That's why we wanted to add to our workflows a lot of AI as possible. And we trying to create workflows and pipelines based on what exactly exists now today. I mean, in commercial world and open source world, to mix these solutions into the pipelines to activate the cultural heritage assets. And again, we're also not only trying to play with these assets, so to say, but to find kind of mediums and use cases to work with that. So, and actually, our research has different stages. It's pretty looks pretty complicated for the first time. I will try to show the general. thing because during this research we also found how to use the raw material that we have for digitization. For example, in case of 3D scanning, for example, photogrammetry or Gaussian splatting, we always have the raw materials, so the data sets used to create this. And the problem always was, okay, we have the scan, we have a pretty cool 3D model, and what's next? Actually, how can we use it? Again, if we try to work classical way, like in Hollywood or in any production house, the prices will be pretty high, and we need a lot of resources. And we found if we use the 3D models, all the data sets to train AI to implement this into the workflows, we can get a pretty nice results for the really low price tags. And also we found some ideas for Medium, but let's talk about that step by step. So our first project, which actually was presented during the UNESCO Creative Cities conference. Oh, by the way, I can share the link with the video. Oh, so let's look straight to all. Yeah, here is Ah, it's okay. I'll do this later because I see some kind of technical issues with the chat. Sorry, but at the end of my presentation, I will share the video which was shown in UNESCO, which this video describes pretty cool and very interesting way one of our projects. So our first idea was to work with the clothes, with the dress assets, because if you might know, working with 3D dress object is a really hard work and very, very expensive and pretty impossible. So, and we started our collaboration with our commercial partner Botspot in Berlin and Film Museum Potsdam, which has a lot of dresses from GDR times and from different films. They are pretty iconic, and our start was the Nibelungen Kriemhild's Revenge film from French land from 1924. So it's a legend in terms of cinema history. And we wanted to not only to scan it, because of course we scanned it using photogrammetry, so we use 60 cameras. We've got 1.5 thousand photos, and we got a perfect scan. What you see now, it's actually these are renders in Unreal Engine, but it's still not a cloud. And so it looks like okay, it looks like cloud, but in terms of 3D, if we try to animate this asset, this won't work because physically it's just a 3D model rigid body, right? And so here's the demonstration of the 3D scan. It's a pretty high detail scan, uh, but again, it doesn't work like we wanted. But and after using AI methods, first of all, we used try-on methods. We can already use this dress on the models. All people that you see in the presentation, they do not exist. They are also generated using different AI models. And then first we try to use a try-on technique that actually we feed AI with a photo or a picture of the model and with a picture of the dress and asking AI to put it on. As you can see, this works pretty interesting, but not exactly the right way. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So the second step after we got the pictures, we wanted to make like haute couture stuff to show like high fashion presentation, because the idea was to use museum assets not only scientific way, because for scientific way it's enough to have 3D twin, digital twin, but we wanted to play to be a little bit maybe provocative, something like that. So we generated, again, using different models, we generated a fashion video. So we have not enough time to watch it full, but you will see some footages in the UNESCO video that I will share later. But if we scroll, you can see that we have pretty high level and very interesting use cases and demonstration of these assets from the museum. So you can imagine that that it can be any scenario, any idea can be visualized with that, right? So, and again, as I mentioned before, the problem is that actually the dress looks not exactly right. As you can see, it looks like a soft silk. Yeah, for example, here we can see that it's soft. And if we look at the photograph, let's jump back to the original stuff. You can see it's pretty heavy. It's kind of you know, the armor of medieval times. So, and here comes in play the training. So again, we understood that we need to train AI, but how actually? How can we show the model that it should render our dress proper way? And the idea was to use photogrammetry scans rendered in different lighting locations with different close-ups and details, so to show the thickness of the material to AI. And at the same time, we used the photos that was made for photogrammetry also to train the model. So we've got the data set, so we have kind of double use of the material. So we're using the model, the 3D model, which looks like dress, but it isn't dress because it's not animated. At the same time, we use our photogrammetry data set. So we have a lot of information. And as the result after training, so we trained kind of LoRa, if you know this, it's a low rank adaptation. So it's kind of a pre-train of existing model, but it takes not so much computer power that any other. So we don't need data center for that. We need just a gaming computer, high level computer, but it's still not data center. So for your understanding, we use here RTX 4090 for training. And we use the Flux model to get the results. As you can see, now the dress looks pretty good, and it looks like real heavy dress. And of course we played with that. So let me scroll the next video. Oh, I should hit play here. As you can see, it works pretty well, and also in different scenarios. So now we played with kind of fairy tales, some like fantasy world, and so on, to demonstrate that we can visualize any scenario, any idea using this dress. And of course, we played with kind of you know, fashion magazines, and other stuff. They are also demonstrated in the UNESCO video. And the interesting stuff, what we found also, that during the creating of these images, AI hallucinated. Of course, that's the main problem of working with AI, the hallucinations of the model. And of course, so we've got, maybe I cannot tell you exact numbers, but it looks like so we've got 40% of the proper dress and the 60% of hallucinations with our workflows. And for now, we're fine-tuning our workflows, and we're getting much more better results. But for the time of the experiment, it was a pretty high amount of hallucinations. But what we found, that the dresses are pretty interesting, and they also can be used in kind of creative way. And at that time, we talked with our commercial partner, Botspot. They are our partners now. That's the company which makes hardware solutions for photogrammetry and 3D scanning, also for Gaussian splitting. And they had a lot of clients, commercial clients, who also had the question what to do with the scans. So we are working for culture and they working commercially, but we all have the same question, what to do next. And so first we show that we can prepare different stuff, and our project now in the in development phase, and we can present some new results in several months, because we scanned more costumes and found much more interesting ways to visualize them. But again, the hallucinations can be also used. Just look at that. We can create a fashion line based on the costume, right? And we can play with that. Again, in these renders, we try to stay kind of as near as possible to original, but we can use this as inspiration to create something new, to create new collections, to create new ideas, and for everything, not only for clothes, that's for different parts of business and visual stuff, and so on, so on, so on. So that was the first side of our research. Let me start the second presentation to show you. One second, please. Here we have this presentation. So and again, our project, they of course they have a lot of intersections because it's kind of think tanking on the problems that we have. And the second project called Pedant Reduction with Laundry. This project and this workflow demonstrate also some interesting solutions how to work with the material in case if we don't have any visual data. So we started with our Polish partners because they asked us maybe for advice, and that was a conversation again in this European project called Impulse, and our role in this Impulse project to find ways to visualize, to visualize cultural heritage and to address digital heritage paradox. And they told us the story about the laundry in the Bielsko-Biała city in Poland. There was the laundry which was used which worked together with Auschwitz concentration camp. And the prisoners from there, they had to work in the laundry. And workers who lived in this house, by the way, this is AI render. Let's talk about this later. But it's historically based and historically accurate. They found the ways how to communicate with them. And the final result was that they could make possible the meetings between prisoners and their families. Can you imagine what does that means in during the Holocaust time? That's something impossible. But there is no photos, no visual material about that. There is only text, some interview of these persons, which are stored in Auschwitz archive. So and some scientific articles, nothing else, right? And how to address this situation, because it's very important to visualize this, to tell the story, to create kind of visuals, films, or anything else. So we also mix this with our workflow. So the first idea was we worked with our partners, Cologne. This is Catholic University in Leuven. If you know, that's the biggest library in Europe, and they have a lot of stuff of the digitized stuff since I don't know, the book I played with was from 16th century, something like that. So can you imagine how big their collection is? And they gave us for experiment their industry book. That's a kind of scan. What you see here, it's already interpreted scan of the book from 1851, by the way, of the industrial stuff in Belgium. And we took the statistic about Liège. You know, statistic is pretty kind of interesting stuff, but who can read it, right? So these numbers, here you can see just a small screenshot of this table. It's pretty huge, right? And actually only scientists can read it. But if we show the same data like that, or like that, oops, like that. So what do you see? This and this is the same data, the same information, but presented different way. It's so we just actually it's nothing special here. It's just creating infographics based on the statistics, but it's created after setting up our workflows. It's creating in seconds. It has a lot of problem, you know, also hallucinations, problem with the text. The new AI models now can generate text. At the time of the experiments, they couldn't. But anyway, that's a good starting point to prepare everything for visualization. Yeah. So there is no need to invest so much time to start from scratch. to interpret this. And of course, the machine can analyze, can answer questions, can be trained on this information. That's actually what we are doing now during our project. So combining based on AI everything, like the huge meta level that eats everything and gives you visual results. So that was our start. And let's jump back to the laundry. So, and we found that about this laundry, we have only newspaper articles on the internet in Polish and scientific article of Dr. Jacek project about the situation, what happened there in the laundry. So to be sure, because we have only 7 minutes left, so to be sure, we extracted so the dramatic lines from this story. Again, that's how did they contact the prisoners? What did they use for that? What happens and how this lead to making the meetings possible for your understanding for what they done, they had to be killed by Nazis. That's not a question. That's kind of heroistic stuff. They are heroes, but nobody knows. So because there is no visuals, I'll show you. Let me jump through my presentation. Here are actually 4 photos about everything, and some pictures that they made. Here are this Spiro family. They are shoemakers. So who started this? Yeah. So we have this photo. We have their interview in Auschwitz Museum. We have some drawings from them and 4 photos. We upscaled them, cleaned them up with the AI. But anyway, it's not so much information about this story. So we went first cinematic way, like pianist film or Schindler's List, and tried to visualize the story, everything that we could take from the text data. And of course, that's a huge question. We, of course, always are in communication with historical people, with everyone who understand the story to check whether what we are generating, what we are creating, looks right or not. That's the huge problem. That's the different topic, but anyway, it's always discussed by any presentation. So we presented this project in the Sussex, so the University of Sussex during their Holocaust Memory Conference, and were the hot topic about the this side of creation. But let's look at that for today. We know this problem. That's why I'm talking about it from more technical and so like a kind of demonstration of what's possible, right? So here are the first visualizations of the story. And this brought us to the next idea. So we also generated some videos, but let's save some time. Let's jump immediately to the next topic. What we found? Okay, we have this the pictures and also the videos. How can we show? How can we present? That's, by the way, also relevant for digital revival project for this film museum assets, because it's, of course, we can use this for social media, for film, for television, for internet. But how about creating the medium where we can combine, again, the photogrammetric stuff, so all the 3D scans taken from the archive, real information that we can find in archives, and if we can generate the lacking information, so like this, we can mix everything together in one medium. And we analyzed what exists now in the world, different experiments with projection exhibitions, different ways, and created the concept of corridor of memories. So the idea is to use virtual production techniques, because again, we're a film university. We're pretty experienced with virtual production. If you know, this is kind of like Mandalorian made. If you have the LED screens behind the actors, so you create visual effects, you create compositing on the go during the shooting. So using the same technique, we can mix all the scans, all the 3D data, all the real archive data, and generated data in one medium. As a demonstration, we took our photogrammetry from one more Holocaust project that we made called The Lost Time. There's a different project, but anyway, we took the scenes from this project because we recreated a lot of the scenes from Theresienstadt, that's a concentration camp, if you know, and the ghetto there. So we recreated barracks, we recreated buildings in the ghetto, everything in 3D for our VR experience about this topic. We took the scenes for the background. So we built the composition of the corridor that should be projected with the projectors, actually. Yeah, that's a real corridor, as you can see now on the screen. It's a prototype, it's 10-meter long and 3 meters high. So you're entering and you see immediately the drama. Yeah, like here you're moving toward Auschwitz. Here's the exit. If we jump back to the corridor, here's the entrance. You see immediately what happened, what's going on in laundry. You see the eyes of the families, their reactions. If you turn to exit, you're moving to the rail, along the railroad to Auschwitz, and you also see the portraits of the people. That was the idea to hear the portraits. They should be real because, as you can remember, in Auschwitz Museum, you can see in the main building a lot of portraits of prisoners who were there. We were inspired by this exhibition. So and the foreground, we mixed this photogrammetry with our generated stuff. And you have to understand it can be animated, so it can use spatial sounds, it can use a lot of stuff. In our prototype, this exists only in 3D now, until now. We're looking for partners to build the first prototype. Maybe this can happen pretty soon. But anyway, so now we have the medium, okay? And we have our ideas of mixing photogrammetry and the data sets for that. So, and again, yeah, here's the demonstration. How can we animate our photos? This actually daughter of the shoemaker bringing the note to the prisoners to make the first contact. That what we extracted from the scientific paper about this stuff. So again, their daughter. And after that, we understand, okay, we need to take the same approach from the digital revival project to generate the environments much more historically accurate for Bielsko-Biała. Because our partners, what we're doing now, we want with our partners from Poland and a lot of sponsors to open the museum there in the building of the laundry. So the laundry looks today like that. Here's the house of Spiro family. So everything happened here, exactly here in this yard. Okay, and we made these photographs this year. So we not only made the photographs, we also made 3D scanning of the building. Now you can see that this is a 3D render of the building, what we made. We're preparing the stuff to open the museum, also based on the corridor idea with the projection exhibition about the story of. I'm running out of time, so what I'm going to show the final thing. So we made 3D scanning. That's a 3D Gaussian plating demonstration. It's also 3D. That's not a photo, right? And again, as in digital revival project, we used the data set to generate historically accurate images. But in this case, we used the controlling stuff. So we controlled AI based on the geometry of the building to generate the pictures. And our next step will be to train AI based on the photos that we can find from Bielsko-Biała. And the results of the first experiment look like that. So the next renders, these all renders are generated based on geometry that we made in Bielsko-Biała, right? So, and now we can control all the geometrical stuff inside and add the characters to visualize the story. And again, it can be animated. It's just an example, but look how interesting it looks. So these are the idea. The final thing that what I want to mention, both projects are in the development stage. So the what I presented, it's only the starting point. I have much more ideas, and we're going to update the documentation presentation this year. Please stay tuned. Stay tuned, and I think we will have to share something interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Evgeny, for the very interesting, very living in all the sense of the term presentation. I actually have a lot of questions, but maybe first question is actually quite technical. Could you maybe share like the kind of AI you used? Like were you basically prompting on some open LLM, or which kind of technology did you use?
So that's a very good question. So we use everything imaginable. So we used all the open source stuff and we use all the commercial models. So now we built a kind of engine based on MCP protocols, model context protocol, if you know. So we have now the system where different LLMs communicating together to that's actually made for coding, for debugging, but we use this for analyzing material, for writing, and so they speak together. So we have the three brains and also people brains. So we used ChatGPT. I'm not using ChatGPT anymore because it's stupid. Sorry, but anyway, let's. We used a lot of commercial, all of them, what's possible, and so these models, they have differences, so we use them for different targets, for different purposes. Our main model is now Claude, because Anthropic made this MCP protocol, which now is being integrated in other solutions also by Google, OpenAI, and Grok, so XAI. But they are the leaders for MCP. That means that our LLM model can control a lot of application, communicate with different stuff, open databases. It's even can make 3D, in Blender. Just I can ask, please create something based on my generated video, and this will make with a lot of errors, but this works. So that's a huge system. Now we have so we've got a grant to, so we can use a data center, so we can use open local LLMs, because if you know to run the big, so that means, what does this mean? Big smart model, which is not stupid. You need a huge computer power unit, right? And it's actually data center that's cannot be run locally in the studios, because you need real data center GPUs and a lot of them. Now we are starting building that. We have some partners. We won a grant for sometimes to use them. And that means that we can train open source video models, which is impossible also local because of amount of VRAM that we need, right? And I'm pretty sure that we can connect all our nodes, so to say, in one solution. That's my idea. But it cannot be done immediately, so it's for a long perspective. By the way, I shared the video on Vimeo, what was shown in UNESCO. What you can see there, first of all, you can see me. That's not me, right? That's my avatar made of my photo. You can see my photo, by the way, here in Zoom. So we use different flux contexts, for example, to change the clothes. We use the different models to animate me. Speech was also generated. Script was written with three models together and me, right? And Martin, who is here, who is a native English speaker person. That's why we always need to check what we made, right? So people must be always there. The machine can help, but it cannot do our work. So, right? So it's always under control of real people. If not, it's gonna make crap. So it's not controlled. If you're not professional at what you're doing, AI cannot help you. That's the problem. That's good or bad. But anyway, what we mentioned, if we can't understand what we're doing, AI won't help. It will hallucinate, and so create primitive stuff. And music is also generated, and so on, so on, so on. It's a pretty, huge combinations, multi-level, but as basic, we use Midjourney for image generation. We use Flux models, commercial and open source, for training. And for generating, we use now flux context for changing, and we use a lot of different stuff now. We use Vang, this Chinese stuff, because they launched because we have this data center to work with video models locally, and we're mixing them and training them, and also we use different other models, because now it's kind of era of everyone makes everything, so it's really hard to say what to use. So every day everything gonna be changed. That's why every day we change our workflow, and that's the problem for the universal system, how to make this workable, because everything is unstable, completely unstable for today. But on the other hand, if you understand what you can use, so for video generation, we used Runway, didn't work that good at that time. Now Runway is better. We used VO from Google, VO2, and now we're using VO3 already. What else did we? So yeah, so the whole spectrum of everything what's possible, we try to use and to mix in our workflow.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing. That's actually super interesting to see all the different AI you're describing interacting in your workflow. On the what you shared, the importance of having a technical expertise before, in a sense, using Gen AI to be able to identify when it's hallucinate. If it interests some of our viewers, we also discussed it. I think it was during Urban AI Conversation 26 with Natalia Kosmina, who published a study, a research called Your Brain on ChatGPT. And this is really a topic we discussed on agency. I might have a question for you, Lisa, actually. What does it open in terms of possibilities, in terms of opportunities? So I said it in the beginning, your focal point of UNESCO Creative City of Film Postdam. What do you see in terms of opportunities when you see such a presentation?
First of all, thank you so much for having us and like giving the space to Potsdam and presenting what's going on. And so I'm always impressed if when Evgeny presents and to have a glimpse of what's possible at the moment. And I feel like it makes workflows easier and also like more accessible, like because you don't need a lot of money to have like magical effects. So for independent filmmakers, for example, AI, I think is making a lot of things more accessible and possible for film production. And speaking of the projects from Evgeny and CX Studio at Film University, I think it's so important because you can get emotional. Like if I imagine being in this exhibition, I think it's so important to remember. And I think it's so important to think about the past, to not forget what happened. And also like in the political situation that we are in so many countries, we have a lot of right wing. So it's important to actively shape our today and tomorrow together. So I feel like this is also a power that UNESCO Creative Cities Network have, and because UNESCO was built and created after the Second World War and has established 2004 this incredible network of UNESCO Creative Cities where you put culture and creativity together, learn from each other. So it's not about competition, it's about learning and togetherness. So I'm always looking forward and impressed like what's happening in Potsdam, but also in the other cities and around the world. And also your conversations with Urban AI is super interesting. So let's see where it goes. I'm excited.
Yeah, and indeed, well, thanks for sharing, Lisa. And you're right, that's super interesting. This is what you shared in the beginning of your presentation, Evgeny. The fact that you are actually using this technology for competitivity and productivity, and also because it make accessible some like renders, some like visuals that otherwise would cost too much. So that's really interesting to see that it's lowering the barrier to entry to some, let's say, art production, the use of generative AI. And you're right to reminding it, Lisa, like the importance of using this technology to make living some like memories, some history. Evgeny, what are the next step, I would say, for you with this research? Like, how do you put it out of the screen? This is a topic we investigate a lot at Urban AI. We call it the screenless city sometimes. Like I'm sure you have elements, things in mind. How would you make it maybe embodied, like present in daily lives?
Yeah, first of all, our idea is to start building the corridors, so to say the projection exhibition, because if we calculate, for example, I calculated the touristic flow in Berlin. As you might know, the Pergamon Museum is closed for 15 or 20 years. So, and the collection is stored like an archive. It's not accessible so for 20 years. And just like an example, we analyzed the touristic flow and how many people are visiting Pergamon Museum and so on and so on. And just model pretty raw, so without any kind of very raw. So, but in these 20 years, if we, for example, scan the Pergamon collection and use this digital twin in kind of this projection exhibition, like corridor or something based on this idea, because again, in the Bielska Biala, this won't be a corridor because they have the different shape of the building, but this should be three projection exhibition, depending on the topic. And so if we calculate, so the revenue in these 15 years will be around 300 million euros if we make the ticket price kind of 20 euro. It's only one unit. But if we think about this projection corridor from the business side and cultural side, that's kind of if we build a medium. So if we open this in Potsdam and other cities and maybe in Paris and so on, so on, so on, then that's kind of selling software. So we create content based on our workflows or what we're gonna find, and we create the projection exhibition that can be changed if you like every second, every day, so it doesn't matter because physically you always have the infrastructure. It's prepared, right? And we have some experiences working commercially for advertisement for such a corridors because they are opened in different countries, but they are not concepted like the normal exhibition. That's something like for advertising for a show. It's only in the United States and in Japan and Korea such exhibitions work, but they worked a little bit different. We made an analysis, but back to corridor, the projection exhibition. So we can use it. We can create just content, and just change between different corridors. Can you imagine? So we can make the, I don't know, haute couture project together with Paris and Film Museum Potsdam, so there are no limits for imagination because the using of AI makes everything, like you mentioned 2 minutes ago, makes everything democratic. So yeah, it's still expensive to create this content, but it's not so extremely expensive how if we think about creating kind of Hollywood films or movies, but it looks very good. It's enough for commercial stuff. So that means we can imagine everything that we want to play. Yeah, I mean, technically, let's don't speak about the humanitarian side of and other side. It's of course must be discussed always and kept in mind. But let's speak from the just technical and side of possibilities, what's possible, right? And again, we have different ideas. How can we prepare the stories, playing with the assets? And now our next steps. So we scanned with our new commercial partner some more costumes. We're now preparing the data, and approximately in October, we're going to start the brainstorming how to wrap, because we see a lot of possibilities what we can do, and we need to find a strategy how to make this commercially and culturally interesting for all sides, for film museum, film university, and commercial structures. And this kind of brainstorming, because now again we understood we can do virtually anything. Yeah, we can even print, we can play, because now we're also experimenting with game engines, and we want to integrate the costumes into the gaming industry. Here, one needs much more 3D work, because it's not automatized with AI, but with AI, we found some interesting stuff. Again, how can we mix and jump into this territory, so to say, because the audience, for example, Fortnite, they have a huge amount of active users, like Facebook. That's something that's comparable with Facebook. Now imagine if we have our stuff in Fortnite.
So here, for example, the economic model will be to sell the digital twin of the costume to like game video provider, commercial.
I won't say like no. I'm not sure. First of all, we don't have the economical model. We just now shaping this model, so we don't have the final solutions. But I would say that the much more interesting is that if, for example, the owner of the asset, like film museum or any other institution that have archive, if we can organize the platform that the owner can, so to say, sell or I don't know, rent their assets for different stuff, for gaming, films, for social media, for playing, for creating new costumes and so on. This can be a solution, because if we sell just like a costume, like a digital twin, that's nothing new that didn't work before, right? We need some kind of different point of view of how to wrap this, but we are still shaping. So because first we wanted to be sure that it's general possible, right? Now we have some results. They're pretty interesting, exciting, and we are developing all the projects. And if the exhibition Biascabel, this culture center Biascabel, can exist, that will be a great demonstration of what's possible, right? And at the same time, the film museum, they're absolutely inspired of what we've done, because they had also idea how to wrap, how to tell the stories, because the archived stuff has stories behind them. That's a gold mine of the content, right? And every film, every video, less or more, are based on the historical, you know, historical stuff, like always, because we cannot separate ourselves from history. We're part of history. Yeah, that's why the archives, they shouldn't be boring. They should work like a content. So, and our idea is to create a content engine. We call this like a working title. So there's the system based on AI that can help to analyze its everything and help to generate a given content depending on the strategy. Or we will create our use cases and demos, like corridor of memory, this exhibition, because we have now conversation with other partners who are interested in developing the story around the Auschwitz Laundry and the story of what happened in Poland there, and Polish resistance, and so on. So a lot of, because it's not the only one story there, right? And if we can combine this and combine in kind of network maybe of projection exhibitions or something like that, again, we're just shaping. This can be very, very interesting for all sides, for cultural and commercial, right? So that's the idea, to balance using, and again, the AI is the main key, because if we don't use AI, everything will be too expensive and cannot exist like before,
Yeah, there
That's
is
that's
also there
that's
is
the,
also
that's the idea.
yeah, there's also this financial argument point of view that you both really highlighted during the conversation. Maybe just let's say a challenge I would like to raise, this democratization of narrative creation. Do you also envision it as a possible threat? The fact that anyone could potentially create new or weaponize some narratives, let's say, on social media or anything else. And if you see it as a threat, maybe not, but if yes, how do you believe we could counter this? Is it, like through individual capacity building, being able to better recognize AI content, or is it through policy? Or that's maybe the
I,
question. Maybe we can start with Lisa and then
yeah,
Evgeny.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, I see it as a threat. And I also know that UNESCO, for example, is also having the topic of AI and also ethical questions and threats and challenges we are facing. So I think it's good to come together internationally. So what you're saying is, I think it's super important, because if there's like a misuse that could happen, like it's accessible, people can use it. But if also know that, for example, in Potsdam, the VoloCap, which is a volumetric studio as well, they are also working on software to detect fake news or to detect fake videos, for example. So I feel like it's important to know about it. It's important to know how it works and to detect and what we can do about it. So yeah, it's a very important topic.
Okay, so a way also of empowerment, being able to better map detect those fake content, or let's say generated content. Okay, thanks, Lisa. Evgeny?
Yeah, we know this problem, and again, I started with that. That is being discussed everywhere. So that's why we always make cross-check with the relevant people or institutions what we are doing. That's first of all, and we're working close with the scientists because again, we can generate everything. In some cases, that's not a problem. I mean, in terms of costume or high fashion, why not? There is nothing dangerous here. But if we talk about Holocaust stories and so on, as you can find, there is an article in UNESCO. It was published 2 years ago, as I can remember, UNESCO archive of misuse of AI in for Holocaust and for historical reinterpretation, so to say. That's the problem. So that's why, first of all, we make the different levels of checking of alignment of our content, first of all, before we publish.
Can
Yeah,
you share it, those level of checking, if possible, Evgeny? Because I think it could also interest not only artists, but
yeah.
also yeah.
Look, so first, so if we jump back to our laundry generation, so we created a selection of images that we made that for us looked okay, so relevant for the project. Then we separated them in different groups, checking the danger stuff, what we see the elements, and then we communicated. We created a brainstorm with our partners in Poland, with scientists involved to select the pictures which can look, which are relevant, and which are which are not, so to say, lying, not reinterpreting, but didn't exist, right? The second thing, what we plan to do anyway, with if the museum can work and so on, there will be disclaimer. So please understand, so that there is a lot of because we are not pretending to say that actually we are working scientifically. That's very important. So science in our case stopped before AI starts, right? So we made a digital twin of the cloth or of the building, and we say, here's the real replica. Here's the real object. Here we can integrate the descriptions, we can integrate scientific stuff, so we can use this like a classical way. And then we say, here is stop with the real, and now we just playing to make the things so visually so more interesting. Like again, so I always say Schindler's List film, right? Very important film. The film history brought a lot of attention to the Holocaust theme and so on. A lot of, and the impact of society of this film is extremely huge. But this film and The Pianist, for example, these both films and many more were criticized because they showed everything historically wrong from the point of view how it was made. But the open question here is what's much more important, yeah, to bring the attention emotionally, yeah, or to hold this truth. I think that the answer is something in balance. Yeah, we're never pretending that we're creating something because we cannot know how it looked like because there is no archive material in terms of laundry, right? In case of laundry, in some cases we can have relevant images or documents, So we can compare, we can build. So for laundry, we have, I showed you, only 2-3 blurry photos. So nobody can say how it looked like. It's lost, right? So, but we don't pretend to say that we're showing how it was. We pretend to say, look, we're trying to be accurate as much as possible, to bring your attention, to tell you about what happened, why it's important, because it's not about history, it's about humanity, right? But we're using our classical stuff like visual, audio, and so on. And so this, and the third level, of course, if we're training, the selection of material, selection of data for training, for example, how we plan to work with Auschwitz Laundry, we will get the archive material from the institution that work with this material properly, right? So the idea here is, okay, we have no images, no visual data from the laundry itself, but we have different photos from surroundings. So if we train our model on them, the model can, so to say, make something a little bit closer to what we want, right?
Okay.
And
Yes.
so that's the idea, but it's still the open topic, and we're open to this discussion always. How to check, because yeah, it's we heard a lot of mentions and some different meanings, so and ideas about this problem, right?
So you have those different layers of checking, and I think actually it could really interest such process. I know we have in the audience municipalities, local governments, urban planners working also, you know, with generating video and images, and there is this question of accuracy. So that could also definitely interest them. And this definitely open question of, let's say, the line between history, narrative, and I completely agree that that's definitely an open question, an unanswered question, and maybe we could actually conclude with such a
Yeah. The final thing that I wanted to add just quick, because our data sets are based on the real objects, right? And that's very important. So we are using digital scans and the images that was made to create these digital scans. That's why we are already based on something that is that's real, and that's I don't know, at least accurate, right? So that's very important. So the problem with AI, nobody knows what is the data set of the model, right? So with our training, we can, so to say, try.
Evgeny, I think we lost you for a few seconds. You're still here, but we can't hear you. Oh.
Now? Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah. Sorry, something happened with my headset.
Sorry, we didn't get your conclusion, Evgeny.
Okay, so I mean that we're trying to control what we are feeding with our AI models, because in terms of big models, nobody knows what's inside. We don't know what the data set is inside. So, and we cannot control that. That's normal. That's okay for general model. But what we can do, we can control ourselves, because it is a small portion what we need to train for the given topic. That's about 50, 100 photos or more. But anyway, it's controllable with human minds. No need to automatize this. It's not trillions of billions of images to train, right? So it can be controlled, and we can so also add kind of control level in this. And what we are doing, what I showed, it's based on real stuff. That's why it's very important, because we're taking this from our 3D scans.
Yeah, there is as input data accuracy.
Right, right.
Thanks a lot, really, Evgeny, Lisa, for this fascinating conversation. We saw it, when we are talking about AI. In this case, we are not just talking about AI, but also on fascinating questions at the intersection of memory, heritage, and history. And that was really a fascinating conversations on this topic. Evgeny, where could we follow the next step of this project?
I think the best way is to follow Six Studio on LinkedIn. Because until now we didn't publish a lot of information. There are several reasons for that, mainly the funding and the different, bureaucratic stuff. So unfortunately, we don't have the open until now some kind of web resources and so on. But we are updating every time on LinkedIn as a Six Studio Film University Babelsberg. You can find us and follow up, and that's the best solution for now.
Okay, perfect. Then we will share the link in the video, in the comment of this video. Lisa, where maybe can we share also, can we see updates?
Yeah, sorry. And Martin, well, my colleagues told me that, of course, because both of the projects were partially funded by Impulse Project, so we made scientific, so we have to write our results of our work. And these deliverables, they are published on the Impulse page and the European Commission page. It's much more scientific papers, as not so easy to read, maybe, but and they're pretty huge, right? About 100 pages. But you can follow this also deliverables on Impulse page, because we are collecting. So not we, but the project and European Commission. This is because it's founded by European Union. That everything must be published, and so you can follow these publications also.
We will show them. Thanks for sharing in the description of the video, definitely. Lisa, maybe where we can share, when we can see also updates regarding UNESCO City of Potsdam Creative City.
Yes, you can follow us as well on LinkedIn, but also on Instagram, for example. There we have the Potsdam City of Film page where we update about everything that's going on. There's also like a common and shared website by all UNESCO cities of film. It's the citiesoffilm.org. So there you can get an impression of all 26 UNESCO film cities.
Amazing. Then we will also share it in the description of the video. Thanks a lot, really, Lisa, Evgeny, for joining this fascinating conversation. That's already its end. Next week, we will have the great pleasure of discussing Alpha Earth Foundation model, which is a new model introduced by DeepMind to map all the world. You will see it's really fascinating with Daphne Tapia, who is Urban AI member and also Director of Business Development at EMISites. Thanks, everyone, and take care. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Lisa. Bye, Evgeny. Thanks.
Bye.